no failure is permanent.
And no success too.
Of course, I think that goes without saying. When we signed our first franchisee store, it was a big moment for me. To see that banner coming up in a new city. Sometimes when there are press coverages, those are the points that you feel on top of the world. Then there are equal experiences when you feel that rock bottom. That is a premature success. Like I said, getting married and happily married. The aim is not just to finish the function. The aim is to be happily married. If you actually need a push, if you need a driving factor, then entrepreneurship is not here. I cannot tell you that because I spend X amount of time with a roaster, so I'm doing this amount of business. But then those were very important points in order to understand what kind of product we want to give, what kind of experience we want to give.
इंडिया में 53% से भी ज़्यादा लोग कॉफ़ी कंज्यूम करते हैं और ये रेशियो ग्रेजुअली बढ़ रहा है। और आज के जो हमारे गेस्ट है अंकुर गुप्ता, वो एक एंटरप्रेन्योर है और कॉफ़ी के लिए बहुत ही पैशनेट है। उनका लाइफ में एक ही गोल है, सर्विंग अ गुड कॉफ़ी। हमने ये पॉडकास्ट में उनके साथ कैफे बिजनेस वर्सेस कॉफ़ी बिजनेस, हाउ टू रेज अ फंड और रेज करने के बाद लाइफ चेंज होती है कि नहीं, ये सारी बातें हमने ये पॉडकास्ट में करी है। और तो और लास्ट में हमने ये भी बात करी है कि कॉफ़ी इंडस्ट्री इतना जल्दी इंडिया में बूम कैसे कर रहा है। सो ये सब जानने के लिए पॉडकास्ट एंड तक देखना पड़ेगा। Let's begin. 3, 2, 1. So, welcome to the Hustler Show.
Thank you.
Ankur. So, I would like to start with the to know about your courage. कि वडोदरा एक Tier 2 सिटी है, राइट? तो वहाँ पे कैसे थॉट आया एक कॉफ़ी स्पेशलिटी स्पेस ओपन करने का? मतलब वो रहता ना एक अंदर से करेज निकलना. सो हाउ यू थॉट अबाउट इट?
So, since I'm living here since almost now 15 plus years, so I felt that I know pretty much about the audience in Baroda, and the fact that we have been into the cafe space since last 15 years. So it sort of laid a foundation to knowing that there are people who would want to explore this. So yes, it was a sort of a tricky decision because usually in tier 2 cities specialty coffee is yet to pick up. But then for that we did a home delivery service. We thought let's try and test the waters. So pre-COVID, we did a home delivery service. We started a Instagram page and started delivering just cold brews at home. And fortunately for that, the response for that was great. We had about 400, 500 people who were ordering cold brew from us on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, which was a big confidence booster because when we started, we thought people will ask what is cold brew. On the contrary, people were asking us what roast do you have, what roaster do you have. So it was very heartening to see that the knowledge is already there or it is growing. So yeah, that sort of laid the foundation for us that this is the right city. Unfortunately, then COVID happened, so we had to sort of delay the plans, and post COVID we started this. And in general, also Baroda has a rich history with culture and art. So anything artisan, you would like to believe that people will accept it. And what we have done here is about artisan coffees, specialty coffees. So yeah, that sort of gave us the
Yeah.
foundation.
How did you create that image in another like user's mindset? Like, how did you? What were the any steps you taken? Because there are a lot of people are trying to create a good coffee experience. If I'm not wrong,
Yeah.
but they are not able to deliver. Or what did you like? What did you rightly that people can relate with your coffee specialty and your coffee passion?
So we didn't do anything as a strategy. We went real, so that I think has sort of connected. So we didn't want to create a good experience. We wanted to actually serve good coffee, and ultimately what happens is that when you try to do something very honestly, passionately, it sort of shows
Yeah.
into the overall experience. So I cannot comment on what the rest are doing. There are people who are doing very well. For us, the strategy was to be as real, as transparent as possible. so as to what we are using, how we are brewing. We do workshops to see how we are making things. So there's no so there's no secretiveness, about what we are doing. So I guess that has
Yeah.
been communicated with.
How did you find your love for coffee? Uh, what was the journey?
So it is interesting because see, I am a hospitality graduate. So, eventually my career had to be in hospitality. That's the way I thought of it. So, when I start, no, when I thought of doing entrepreneurship, because that was basically I was passionate about being an entrepreneur, right? So that's how I started it. So at that time, starting a cafe was the most cheapest option,
Okay.
as compared to starting a restaurant or something, because it
Yeah.
requires a lot of people, this and that. So, so
I'm assuming that that time was like cafe.
cafes were just coming
growing.
up. Yeah, CCD had started, barista had started. Rest of the scene was still growing up. For me, the motivation was I can run it with less team. I can do it on my own, and I will not have to invest so much. So it was a very naive start. As a student after just completing my graduation, I decided to get into it. So at that time, coffee or cafe rather became a right way to venture into entrepreneurship. For a period of years, I did very well with that venture, but in the last 2-3 years, I sort of started during my travel and all. I started experiencing coffee, you know. So
Okay.
I realized that there's a big difference in being a cafe and being a coffee person,
Okay.
and those experiences sort of led me to learn more about coffee, and to understand what is the difference. We are also serving coffee, there's a cafe, and these people are saying they're specialty coffee. So what's the difference? When you experience those things, when you experience the nuances of coffee, how it can change the taste with temperature and a lot of things. So I was wowed by it, and that's when I thought, I'll dig deeper into this, and this is the sort of future course of action that I want to take.
Nice.
Yeah.
Like it's just a it's just a journey. You
Yes.
just need to be experienced. Like you started as a cafe,
Yes.
and you converted into a coffee.
Specialty.
So what's the difference in that? Matlab, what's the difference between cafe business and coffee business? How it
Yeah,
differs?
so essentially there's a very small difference, but it's very big if you
Okay.
look closely. So cafe is essentially a place where you come to spend time, maybe do your meetings, visit,
Yeah.
meet, and a coffee place is where you're going out for coffee, right? So when we go out for pizza, we decide that we are going out for pizza and we go to a pizza place, or Chinese or South Indian stuff like that. With coffee, that's not the scene. We go out to a cafe. We might have iced tea over there, or we might have a mocktail over there, because the purpose is to sit and spend time.
Yeah.
So our goal with specialty coffee is that people going out for coffee just like they go out for Italian or Thai or pizza and stuff like that. So essentially, we are, you know, trying to serve specialty coffee and trying to be more transparent about so as to how it is produced and how you can consume it, and ultimately providing that coffee experience,
Right.
after which you can decide whether you want to go deeper into it or not. So yes, essentially a coffee place. Why we call it Curators Coffee is because we want people to be coming for coffee. Essentially, it's a journey again. It's not going to happen overnight, but we are seeing more and more people coming for coffee, not just for
Yeah.
the sake of spending time, and that's something that makes us very proud.
Nice. So, like you mentioned in your earlier, like I would like to know more about your earlier startup, which was like you, as you mentioned,
2008, yeah.
it started in 2008, and you had a great journey with entrepreneurship. So, is there any entrepreneurship or like entrepreneurial experience you experienced in those years?
Oh, lot of it. But, I feel I learned entrepreneurship by doing it, and
That's only way.
yeah, that's the only way actually. Within a bit of a head start would have been useful. So nowadays, there's a lot of reference points. like you are doing this, you can hear people, talk to them. At those times it wasn't that aggressive, so a lot of it was learning by doing. However, in terms of how to be, how to hire people, that's a very important part in terms of how to deal with investors, how to pitch for it, what is the post investment scenario. So those are the things that I learned firsthand,
Okay.
in terms of, and those are bigger topics. But then, essentially, how clear you are with your vision, what is the strategy that you want to take for the brand, and then that's sometimes these are two different things, that what we are doing on a daily basis and what is the vision for the brand, right? But how you can sort of collaborate the two and connect the two, that is where the journey is, and like I said, I have also learned a lot from things I failed in. So, I believe as an entrepreneur, it is very important to know what not to do.
Right.
There are a lot of people who will tell you what to do, but what not to do is equally more important. So that essentially was my learnings in my previous startup. So yeah, that the lot of learnings. I don't know, get the
So,
breakdown.
is there any experience like first time you experience the entrepreneurship? Like this is the real entrepreneurship. जब सब बात तो करते हैं कि entrepreneurship में ये करना चाहिए, ऐसे होता है, but you really experience that you make a profit and your happiness. Was there any moment you experienced when you started your cafe business in 2008?
Yeah, of course. So when we signed our first franchisee store, it was a big moment for me, to see that banner coming up in a new city.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. Sometimes when there are press coverages, those are the points that you feel on top of the world. But then there are equal experiences when you feel that rock bottom. That things suddenly can go flat, and so entrepreneurship is like that crazy ride. So
Yeah.
like one day you're on top of the world, and the other day you feel like you have not done anything. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, every day is adventurous.
What is the driving factor? What was the driving factor for you that time? Uh, so, well, because like you mentioned that कुछ कभी लगता है कि टॉप ऑफ द वर्ल्ड कभी लगता है क्यों कर रहा हूँ.
So ड्राइविंग फैक्टर एंटरप्रेन्योर के लिए बहुत सिंपल होता है, उसका ब्रांड.
ओके.
ठीक है, दैट इज फॉर हिम और हर, इट्स हिज और हर बेबी, so वो, I don't think you need a push in that. If you actually need a push, if you need a driving factor, then entrepreneurship is not it. Actually, whatever you have created as a brand or as a product, as a service, that is your driving factor.
Yeah.
That, I mean, if you feel that if you doubt that, then you can't succeed. So I believe persistence and all those things will come automatically to you when you are driven, and you are driven by your product or the brand, whatever you've created. So come what may, this has to work. That's the approach, and that's the only approach actually for an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And you mentioned too that you raised some money and with
Yes.
VCs and all. So how was it? मतलब लोगों को अभी बहुत ही like VCs वगैरह and रहता ना कि कैसे करना
Getting
चाहिए, कब
funded,
करना
yeah.
चाहिए. So what do you think? Like what is the right time, or is there any right time to raise a fund, or like कब करना चाहिए?
So पहले तो raising fund is a very glamorous activity, that people feel that funding हो गया. So funding is great, of course, right? But funding is only a stepping stone, right? That money, that funding in the company is not going to you, right? And ultimately, that funds have to be used and converted into results. That's when you will taste success. So that is a premature success. Like I said, getting married and happily married. So, the aim is not just to finish the function. The aim is to be happily married. So I guess that's the difference. However, having said that, funding gives you a sort of acceleration
Boost.
in terms of what you want to do. So getting funding, you need to remember the post-funding scenario. So it is obviously very important who is funding you. Do they share your
Who's
vision?
funding you?
Yeah. Do they share your vision, or do they have a separate vision for the brand? Do you share the vision with them? So those are the things which are more important, because post-funding, if there are clashes or if there are problems, then there is really no way to come out of it. So it is also important that how you're getting funded, on what terms, what are the vision. So it's like creating a partner. So the partner has to be in sync with what you want, right?
Yeah.
So funding is essential in businesses nowadays in order to so grow it. But then it is also important that how and who is funding you. And the last part being that if you're doing a startup just to get funded, then I don't think that's the right approach. Right? Funding should be an accelerator. It should not be the whole purpose of your startup. No,
Right.
there are some people who say I have an idea. If I get funding, I can do this. I don't think it works like that.
Yeah. Also, I feel that funding is like a tool for
Yes, it's a
startup
tool. Yeah.
no just expand and not very like not really compete to your competitor, but it's just for you to create a better experience for your user.
Yes.
This is what I feel.
Yes. Yes. And it is like it's not the goal. It should not be the
It's
goal.
not the goal,
Yeah,
right?
it should not be the goal. The goal has to be bigger. So yeah, that is what I feel basically. So different stages of funding. So I've done all of them, right from money from friends to banks to investors. So yeah, different stages call for different types of funding. That's the way it is.
Okay. Tell me the like one good thing about fundraising and two bad things.
The good thing everybody knows is funds, right? So of course you get to explore a bigger canvas. पैसा मिलता का पॉइंट नहीं, एक्चुअली पैसा मिलता नहीं है, पैसा आता है.
हाँ पैसा आता है.
तो आपको एक कैनवस बड़ा मिल जाता है. यू गेट अ बिगर कैनवस. व्हाट यू आर ट्राइंग टू डू विद, let's say 10 locations, you can do it with 100 locations.
Right.
So you get a bigger canvas and a more professional way of working. You can hire better people, all those things that you aspire for. You can do that. uh, there are no bad things in, so there are no universal bad things.
Yeah, but you feel that this is the look at the fundraising is bad.
So if it changes your vision, right,
Okay.
then it might be bad, because अगर आपने कोई vision से शुरू किया है and if it changes it,
Yeah.
right, so it might not be a long term idea. Like I said, it can make you slightly disconnected from the ground operations sometimes, because you got funded, you are more involved in corporate activities, and sometimes it results to you not being involved in the ground level, which makes a huge difference, right? Because so those are the things. So when an entrepreneur gets into funding and corporate activities, for him or her it's a new activity. For people who have invested, it's their daily job, right?
Yeah.
So it takes some sort of balancing and leveling, which is very important.
Okay. So वो बूस्ट मिलता है उससे ज्यादा ही मतलब खुश नहीं हो जाना है और बहुत तो पैसे
वो बूस्ट मिलता है, but
just need to be
like I said, वो boost किसी ने, somebody has invested in you and your brand. It's a responsibility that that you want to use those resources carefully, and then make sure that the returns are there. So I guess it's a big responsibility as well.
right. Abhi like every 8 out of 10 kids want to be an entrepreneur. ठीक है. एंड वहाँ पे लोगों को मतलब ग्लैमरस चीज दिखती है ऑब्वियसली कि नहीं इसने इतना फंड रेज किया, इसने इतना बड़ा वैल्यूएशन वाला बिजनेस खड़ा कर दिया. सो you experience for the around 12-13 years, okay, entrepreneurship, and you are just raise the fund and all the stuff. So can you tell me the harsh reality of entrepreneurship? Like what is that?
So I would not say harsh reality. The reality is that you need to be driven by what you want to do, rather than just that I want to be an entrepreneur. So if you're involved, if you're passionate about what you're creating, then everything in the journey would be a part of the journey. So ऐसा नहीं है कि job is not tough or studies is not tough. Everything can be tough and easy based on how driven you are
Right.
or how involved you are with it. So if I want to be an entrepreneur, my question is why. Right. Let's answer why for yourself. I don't know, why do you want to be an entrepreneur? Is it because you don't want to do a job? So then it's a wrong reason, right? Or if it's because you want to, you want to develop a product or a service or something. So you need to be very clear, because अगर वैसा कुछ होगा तो फर्स्ट चैलेंज पे आप ड्रॉप आउट करके वापस तो सोचोगे इससे अच्छा तो मैं पढ़ लेता हूँ या जॉब कर लेता हूँ.
Right.
So वो वाला जो सीन है, that is something when you are not very clear about why you want to get into this, right? Entrepreneurship, we are in Gujarat, धंधा तो सालों से हो रहा है, एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप वर्ड नहीं था तब से हो रहा है,
Right.
तो वो कुछ नया नहीं है. ठीक है,
Right.
इट्स जस्ट द क्लैरिटी दैट यू नीड, नथिंग एल्स.
Absolutely, absolutely. I feel the intention should be a very
इंटेंशन शुड बी वेरी वेरी क्लियर कि मुझे ये करना है और इसको ऐसे बढ़ाना है, तो फिर उसमें चैलेंजेस तो आएंगे, ठीक है. बट if you want to do it because it is glamorous, or not glamorous, but because it is, you are your own boss and stuff like that, so then those are the wrong reasons.
बहुत चल रहा है पहले
हाँ.
कि आप आपके बॉस हो जाओ,
Yes, yes.
एंटरप्रेन्योर बनोगे तो धंधा चालू करोगे तो
Oh, but
it's
those
just
are
a way to quit your job and
Yes.
start something.
but those are the wrong reasons I feel, because वो challenges तो यहाँ भी हैं.
Yeah.
वो challenges change नहीं होते. That
Oh, yeah, वो तो रहेंगे but your intention should change.
Yeah, if
Yes.
your aim should be clear that you're doing something for such and such, because there will be failures, there will be successes, there will be challenges. तो yes, वो ups and downs आने ही वाले हैं.
Okay.
किसी का भी flat line नहीं होने वाला.
So, Ankur, you build up a like good amount of business, right? Like for the last 12, 13 years. So, अगर मेरे पास आइडिया है, ठीक है, मुझे कैफे ओपन करना है, let's say. So, what will be the convert the idea into execution, like in a reality? What would be the steps, like next steps, or any kind of framework for younger people?
For younger people, I'm going to give a tougher advice, because they have time on their side. For younger people, for any business, if they want to be an entrepreneur, I would advise them to know a little bit more about that business. Probably work in some sort of level at, for some time, 6 months maybe, teaches you a lot, vis-a-vis just getting into entrepreneurship without any experience of the subject. So yes, the first advice is, no matter what you're trying to do, try to get deeper knowledge about the subject, learn more about it, and then venture into it. Talking to mentors, talking to people from the industry, probably having spent some time there. Those are the things which we all miss, and we start with how much money do I need, and where should I open and stuff like that. So yes, those are very important points to consider.
So you mentioned like need to be experienced in that particular genre and an experience की कैसे लोग वहाँ पे you know वहाँ पे कैसे वर्क कर रहे हैं, उन्होंने कैसे बिल्डअप किया, but like was what you were implement, like what are the some steps you were implemented in your business to convert the idea into a business, मतलब पहला profit.
So, like I gave you an example that before we started this curators, we did a pilot with home delivery service. So we were delivering on our own bikes and cars, so that we could actually meet those people who are ordering cold brew, and we get to know more about them. So we did that for about 3-4 months. So that is, in professional terms, it's called doing a pilot. So kind of that was the first thing. Despite being in the coffee industry, we thought we need to know more about our customers.
Right.
And when when we were able to talk to them, and when we were able to understand that for somebody ordering a cold brew at home means they are not ordering it for the sake of it. They want to consume. So those kind of pilots were important in terms of doing this. Then we spent a lot of time with our roasters in terms of what kind of coffee profiles will they provide us. A lot of training, learning from them. So as to how they are roasting and what kind of brewing should be done. Spent a lot of time with people who have provided us the machinery to understand why which machinery is important. So there's a lot of background work which sort of results in a stronger results, but it's not directly visible. I cannot tell you that because I spent X amount of time with a roaster, so I'm doing this amount of business. But then those were very important points, in order to understand what kind of product we want to give, what kind of experience we want to give. And like I said, doing a pilot. So those were the things that I did, in order to sort of start this business.
So
And of
basically,
course,
understand the users first.
understand the users and your product, both the things. So I wanted to learn more about coffee. I'm still learning, but the point being, when I started, I wanted to make sure that my understanding of coffee is substantially increased or improved. So I spent a lot of time learning about coffee, its brewing process, its nuances, and then I started this. So learning is a never-ending journey. I'm still learning, but I feel that that knowledge that I acquired in the beginning has helped me communicate it better. That is the thing.
Yeah. I really like when you said learning is make you a better communicator,
Yes.
right? Like spending more time into coffee industry, spending a lot of time around your user, your colleague.
Yes.
It makes you very clear communicator.
Yes, because you can understand something, but can you make somebody else understand it? Right?
Right,
These
that's the
are two
challenge.
different things. You might understand the political scenario of the country, but if I tell you to explain it to me, it's not that easy. Right? So same way, if you need to learn enough to be a better communicator of the topic, and that is what I believe I worked on, and that is what helped us in the beginning, because when you're starting, especially like this curators, when you're starting with something very unique and something which people haven't experienced before normally, so it's very important to be a good communicator of the same.
Right.
So so that is what we sort of worked on.
What is the helicopter view of coffee industry? Like, uh,
So coffee industry is, coffee is the second biggest second most traded commodity in the world after oil. So coffee industry is definitely huge. We share our coffee cup every day with billions of people, right? So coffee industry has been there. It is a low impact industry, so it's not really affected by recessions or stuff like that, because it's a part of your daily life. However, so the industries are already there. The masses are there. The aim here with specialty coffee is, to sort of make people experience the true nuances of coffee, and let them decide, with what they want to go.
Right.
So there is convenience coffee, there is commercial coffee, and there is specialty coffee.
right.
Right. So what we are trying to do here is make people experience specialty coffee. Once you do that, it's like wine or a good wine. Once you experience it, then only you can understand the nuances of it.
You cannot go back.
And
Once
then
you
probably
already-
you cannot go back. See, but my point is not this is better or that is better. We don't say that this is good. We just say that this is how it's meant to be. Experience it. If you don't like it, you can switch to whatever you like. But at least know, I need to taste a mango to know what the mango is actually. It's like if you have always had sour grapes, you'll never know that grapes can be sweet as well. So I feel that our ultimate mission is to make more and more people experience specialty coffee, because right from the farming to the processing to the roasting, there's a lot of hard work that goes into it for people who are working in the specialty industry. And it sort of the context, we when we provide that context, and when we provide that experience, at least you know what it's supposed to be, and then you can decide what you want to go for. Right? And essentially, it's not highly expensive unless it's something very exclusive. You're roughly spending the same amount of money.
Right.
So, makes common sense to experience it something in its more authentic form.
Right. So, what are the some challenges, or is there any challenges in coffee industry, or serve to, being a serve to good coffee to users?
There are a lot of challenges, in terms of. So with coffee, the challenges are this, that there are no benchmarks. So how do how, so the point is, how do more and more people experience coffee, knowing its origin, or traceability is not there in coffee. So normally when we go out for coffee, we don't know which coffee we are consuming. Just having a coffee, right? So there are a lot of scope for blending and stuff like that. So a specialty product is very difficult to be passed on to the consumer. So that is a challenge right now. So more and but now more and more people are coming into specialty. The awareness is more from the consumer, and when we do that, it's increasing the number of people who are using or consuming specialty coffee.
Right.
Yeah, that's the trend going forward.
What's the vision with Curators Coffee, which is yours?
So yeah, the curator's first vision, of course, is to make specialty coffee simple, fun, and accessible. There's a lot of geekiness around it. Do you know this? Do you know that? So it's not that complicated. Actually, it's very simple. So the first aim is to make it simple. Second is accessible. Because it's not available everywhere. And third is fun. To be able to enjoy it. So that's the vision within which we want to make it a national brand. So that we can make it more accessible, we can make it more simple and fun.
Okay. So, how has been like last 1.5 years for you? Like,
Well, it has been fantastic, to be honest. Thanks to the people who are coming here, and thanks to those flag bearers who were buying our cold brew, and now our customers eh, as well. Because when we started, obviously, it was a nerve-wracking moment for us. Because we didn't know how. Although we were confident with our homework and all, but still there is that apprehension.
थोड़ा fear रहता है
And
चलेगा कि
नहीं चलेगा तो क्या करेंगे. And post COVID time, so we were not sure lockdown फिर से आएगा नहीं आएगा and stuff like that. So yeah, but from day one we have got good response from people, and people have appreciated what we are doing largely. So yeah, it has, and it feels good when your work is being appreciated or recognized. So yeah, it's been a great foundation year for us, which has enabled us to believe that we can open more stores and expand, and lots of learning, lots and lots of learning. That is for sure.
nice.
Yeah.
So, uh, I want to conclude with the very concrete lessons for for my age of students
Mm.
that मतलब, if you are starting something and if you fail, okay, like lots of students and students are failing.
Mm.
So, what are the top 3 lessons you learned from your failure?
Okay, so we are bound to fail in whatever we do. There will be failures, right? So one of the things is that what do we learn from that? First thing is that we should not be repeating those failures. So it is very important at that time to analyze. जो बहुत tough होता है because उस समय आप fail हुए हो तो
Yeah.
to see के what have you learned from this. It takes a lot to get into that mindset. And I think that is very important. That what have you learned from this failure, because that enables that part of what not to do,
Right.
right? So that it's not repeated. Or, of course, and you need to also set your limits of success and failure.
Okay.
And it's very important for an entrepreneur. What is your limit for failure as well. When you start doing something else, or you start saying it's a hard stop and now I'm not going to do it. So those things are very important. Sometimes we are over involved,
Yeah.
over passionate.
You need to know what is the success and what is not.
Yes,
This is my limit.
Yeah, that's my limit for failure also. Success का limit सब सोचते हैं इतना हो जाए. What's your limit of failure?
ये हुआ तो बस.
That's it. That's my hard stop. So that's also very important. And it's a very tricky decision. Because एक तरफ हम बोलते हैं go with a never give up attitude, persistence, passion. एक तरफ हम बोलते हैं set your limit. So, but balancing it is the
Very
okay, you should not be so deep into it that आपको कुछ और दिखे नहीं. Seeing the forest from the trees. So वो बहुत important. So I feel that from the failures you learn. Right? Try and learn what you have done that caused this failure, and not to do it again. Set a time limit, or a limit for your failure, and that is very important. And no failures. That's the third one, being no failure is the end.
Is the
End.
is the end.
Not no amount. We feel that अब तो कुछ नहीं हो सकता. अब तो कुछ no. You
Okay.
can always bounce back. Right? Because the startup or the product or the venture is failed, not you. You have learned. So you can always stand up and do something and make use of that experience. So I feel what I'm doing now, a lot of experience from my life, last 10 years or 15 years has been used. Although in that startup I succeeded, then I failed.
Yeah.
So failure was for the startup, but I learned a lot from it. So no failure is permanent. That is for sure.
And no success too.
Of course. I think that goes without saying.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Ankur,
Yeah.
for doing this.
Thank you.
I'm really glad you spare some time for this.
My privilege. Thank you, Rahul.
थैंक यू सो मच फॉर वॉचिंग दिस पॉडकास्ट टिल दी एंड। अगर आपको ये पॉडकास्ट से कुछ भी सीखने को मिला देन लेट अस नो इन द कमेंट सेक्शन कि आपको वो कौन सी एक चीज आपको इंटरेस्टिंग लगी। एंड अगर कुछ आपको ऑफ लगा फील फ्री टू गिव अस अ फीडबैक सो वी कैन इम्प्रूव इट एंड सर्व यू अ वैल्यूएबल कंटेंट। सी यू इन द नेक्स्ट एपिसोड।